where are you going in retirement? Like, what are your goals for retirement? Which income streams do you want to meet? What net worth you're trying to get to? And just looking at those final big picture things, it's kind of coming together, working with your spouse and seeing, okay, what your aspirations are 5, 10, 15 years, 20 years down the road. Hey everybody, Michael and Suzy here with Adventurous Real Estate Investors. And today we're sitting down with our lovely friends, Marcus and Amy. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. So today, as you noticed, it's the holiday season from the Christmas tree behind us here. So happy holidays first off to all of our viewers. But in a timely fashion, we also wanted to get this video out because this is something that we do every year with our significant other, and that's why we have our friends and their significant other on as well. And so every year we sit down with each other and we go over our goals for the year. And so I'm going to let Suzy kind of dive into that a little bit more.
Yeah, so we will take a day or a night, and whatever time period you have will totally work for you. Whatever works for your schedule is what you do. But you just sit down separately and or together and write down your goals. And we're going to go over the 8 different sections that you go over. But what Michael and I have done in the past is that we'll do them separately and then come together and see what we can create, as a couple together. It's just really important for us to do because even as we're growing our business and just our marriage in general, we would like to grow together and just know where we're at, yearly, monthly, a lot of times daily. And so it just works for us. So we hope that you find a lot of value in this video. Remember, you don't have to do all 8 of them. These are just the 8 ones that are in the Kick-Ass Guide to Your Couple's Goal Setting Retreat. And so we're going to let Marcus start out with spiritual.
Yeah, so as she said, the first one that we talked about was spiritual. And so, for us having children and stuff as well, as you mentioned, it's very important to talk about what we want to do to stay together because of the time that we spent with children. And so it's we talked about in the spiritual, do we want to, maybe you want to, your weekly routine of going to a religious service together, or maybe you want to incorporate meditation in your morning routine. Or we like to, with our children, to do a gratitude routine at dinner every night and ask them what they're grateful for throughout that day. So those are some of the ones that we discussed during our spiritual discussion.
No, that's great. And I think about that. So Michael and I, we're only doing the goals with each other, but with Marcus and Amy, a big part of it is how do you incorporate your children? So I really love that you added that part. So thank you. So the second one is physical. And this has to do with your eating habits and with exercise. So again, do you want to change your eating habits individually or as a couple? How can you incorporate exercise more as a couple, or in their instance, how do they incorporate family activities and have exercise be a part of it? So it's just looking back and reflecting how do you want to grow as a person with your exercise and through your eating habits as well.
So the next one is personal, and I think this exercise, going through this with your significant other or partner, is great, but it definitely is recommended to kind of do it on your own a little bit first so that you can kind of go through your things and get your idea of stuff and then come together to make sure they kind of match up. But this section is personal, so it's kind of all about you. Are you getting enough me time? How can your partner support you in whatever skill or hobby you might want to learn? So those are some things that you personally want to work on. And then I think it's helpful when you do kind of join back up together to talk about how the other person can support you in those things.
Absolutely, yeah. So that's number 3. Number 4 is key relationships. So this really dives into, every relationship that you have with your marriage, so your significant other, with your children, if you have any, with your extended family and your friendships. So kind of looking back at which relationships do you really want to focus on that year, and which ones you want to work on, and what things you can do to either strengthen those relationships, or if you need to cut ties with some friends who are kind of holding you back, right? So it kind of looks at the whole holistic picture of all of your key relationships in this specific section.
Number 5 is a really big one because it impacts so many aspects of our lives. And it's financial, right? So I think it's a big topic. We know that a lot of issues in marriages and families and stuff, and even key relationships and stuff stem from financial conversations. And so In this part of the discussion, I mean, it ranges from everything from talking about the budget, like what you've done in the past year and moving into the next, like where can you trim things or where should you add some, where do you want to spend more as a couple? Maybe talking about some net worth goals or some income streams, like targeting as you want to retire or leave a job, or maybe you want to talk about like your giving, your charitable giving, and what you can afford or where you want to target that in the year ahead. And I think this is important also from a family perspective because the financial lessons and examples that we want to show not only for ourselves but that we want to demonstrate for our children and stuff as well.
Yeah, I like that. And so the sixth one is your job. And since we strongly believe that you were born to make an impact, this is where your job really comes in. And I want you to kind of think about what is your commute like? Are you satisfied? Do you have job aspirations? It's like the whole picture, right? Because it's really important. We spend 40 hours a week doing this activity day in and day out. And so just really think about your job and if you're satisfied. And if you want something different, just taking those steps in order to get there so that you can live a better life and spend those 40 hours a completely different way.
That's really inspiring. The next and second to last category is business. So if you don't have a job, but you have your own business, or maybe you have a business on the side, this is a time to think about that business. Is it going in the direction you want it to go? Is it hitting your income or revenue goals? Is it growing? If you don't have a business, is there something that you want to start? And how can you throughout the next year work on getting that started? So if you have something you're kind of doing yourself that is bringing in a revenue and is a business for you, this is the area to focus on that.
Absolutely. And the eighth and final one is just the final question. So this kind of takes a step back and you look at the big picture, right? So you say, where are you going in retirement? What are your goals for retirement? Which income streams do you want to meet before you retire? Also, what net worth, Marcus is kind of hitting on with the financials as well, but what net worth you're trying to get to, and what other big aspirations, if you want to plan to have kids in the future, things like that, or more kids in the future. And just looking at those final big picture things, it's kind of coming together, working with your spouse and seeing, okay, what your aspirations are 5, 10, 15 years, 20 years down the road, right?
Yeah, and I'd like to add that a lot of people have individualized goals, and that's just all that it is. But think about how much more you can succeed and even move forward when your spouse is supporting your goals and asking about your goals, right? Because so many times, yes, we are in this together, but when you aren't talking about your goals even monthly, you don't realize how much the extra support is actually awesome and gives you more motivation and has you move forward. And so it's really cool to be able to do this together. And I'd actually love to ask how you two, how it was the first time you did it, because I know that you have to start somewhere.
So this 2021 was the beginning of 2021 was the first time that we went through this exercise. And for me, it was almost like therapy, having to kind of face some things that maybe I hadn't voiced and facing them with your partner who obviously you love and respect and they support you, but it's kind of scarier I think to talk to somebody that's that close to you about maybe a fear or a goal that you might have and you're nervous about reaching it. So it was a little bit like therapy to me. And I think one thing that we, after having done it, will do better this next time is to do more of the regular check-ins along the way, because we didn't really do that much this year. And so kind of now that we're back at that time to go through this exercise, it's man, we really should have, we talked about a lot of things, we never really checked up on them throughout the year. And I think that's something that we can get better at the next time we do it.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's something that we can improve on as well.
For sure. And just to kind of add, what Suzy and I did this year in 2020, beginning of 2021, we did this whole exercise, and then we did it separately, like she mentioned, and then we came together and looked at it together, and then kind of wrote our joint goals together from that. And then from there, we kind of distilled it down to our yearly goals, so our end of year goals, what we want to do that specific year, and then our short-term goals, which is 3 to 5 years, and then our long-term goals, which is 5 to 10 and 15-year goals, right? And then we wrote those all out on note cards. We taped all those onto our fridge, which is
a great decoration.
Yeah. Great decoration. So we taped all those on our fridge, and so we see them every single day, multiple times a day, right, as we're going in and out of our fridge, which allows us to kind of look back, okay, where are we at, right? But then from those, we're able to then distill those down into quarterly goals. Okay, if our goal was to get on, let's say, 12 podcasts a year, we need to, distill that down to quarterly goals. We need like 3 a quarter, right? And then from that, after we distill it down to quarterly goals, we can distill it down to monthly, and then even as far as like weekly and daily actions that we take, which really helps us. And then we review. We tried to, as much as we could, review on a quarterly basis. Like, okay, where are we at? Like, which goals do we scratch off? Which is really cool that we were able to scratch off a lot of, our end of year goals this year, and also some 3 to 5 and even 5 to 10 year goals that we had, which is really cool.
But remember too, we did not scratch off them all. I still can't do a pull-up. So don't go even if they're there in your face all the time, you will remember to want to do them all the time. Because trust me, I still want to do a pull-up, but that can't happen.
We're going to put a link to this guide. It's called The Kick-Ass Guide to Your Couples Goal Setting Retreat, written by Gary Keller. And the one thing, if you haven't read that book, it's really awesome. Check it out. We'll put a link to it down in the description here. The description of the YouTube video. We'll put a link down below, so go and please check that out. Any final closing thoughts?
No, I don't think so. I think we've kind of hit it all. I think it's a powerful exercise if you haven't done it before. Give it a first go, and it doesn't have to be perfect. You do what works for you, and go from there.
Absolutely. So, thank you so much for viewing this video. If you found value in this, go ahead and smash that like button below down there, and go ahead and hit subscribe to our channel and ring that bell so you can be notified every time that we release a new video. Again, happy holidays from Barnhart Sevier's and Longs as well. And thank you so much for watching. Until next time, explore more adventure ways.
Woo! Yeah, I liked it.